All right, so going forward, like we were saying, today I'll be discussing the ANSI and non-sinusoidal waveform testing with the RW and Bantam Plus test systems. What we're going to be covering today, brief overview, introduction to harmonics, brief demonstration of what is harmonics, what is harmonic content, and why would we be wanting to test under harmonic conditions. And then with that, we will go into the Bantam Plus and RW sine wave editor, what that is, and how to create a waveform with it. Viewing these created waveforms, seeing what harmonic contents you are generating and what you've created inside of the sine wave editor. Then assigning them to voltage and current and generating these harmonic waveforms, as well as using this tool for ANSI C1220 2015 testing, usually waveforms 5561 through 5566, and how to do that inside of your RW or Bantam Plus. As well as on the end of it, the RW only and RW specific, because the Bantam Plus, while it has the ability to generate harmonic content, does not have the ability to do power quality. We will be talking about the RW's ability to read power quality, saving waveforms that you can see at a site, and then regenerating this harmonic content later on from the RW. So harmonics. What is a harmonic? Harmonic is a voltage or a current at a multiple of the fundamental frequency of the system. Depending on where you're at, it's either 50 or 60 hertz. And for example, if you're looking at a third harmonic, for example, that would be 150 hertz or 180 hertz. Again, depending on location. These harmonics at a site are usually created by nonlinear loads, such as electric motors, LED lighting, or other things that don't really follow the typical sine wave pattern. Where this lines in is the revenue meter, and the customer as well will see this harmonic content at their site. And we need to know if they are generating load and is affecting the power quality of the site, will the meter that is there measure accurately? And on top of that, then we can then use that to say, well, is the customer overpaying on their bill, or is the utility losing money on that customer based on power quality? And we can test the meter, the revenue meter at that site, to find out one way or the other, is the meter accurate under these conditions? So with that being said, we have the RW and the Bantam Plus, both of which can generate harmonic content and allow you to test the meter under harmonic content to see if that meter is being as accurate as you would want it to be. So with that, this is the interface for the RW and Bantam Plus called Windboard Embedded. This is the software in the middle of the RW and Bantam. This will be what is displayed on that.
En inglés. ¿Pero no traduce? No, pero. Chamar, tengo que aprender inglés.
So with Windboard Embedded, first thing that you do when you get onto it is we want to go ahead and now look at the sine wave editor and show you how to generate and save harmonic content. Under both the RW and Bantam Plus, you can go under Utilities, and up at the top right, you'll find this sine wave editor or Run Sine Wave Editor. When you click the Run Sine Wave Editor, it'll bring up this blue and green screen that then allows you to create and display harmonic content that you want to generate. It sorts it out by harmonic order, magnitude, and percent RMS total, and then the phase angle that you want to generate. With that being said, then, you can then create your own harmonic content or create predetermined waveforms and regenerate those here inside of Windboard Embedded. So for example, if I wanted to create one off the top of my head here, and let's say we do 100% of the first harmonic at unity, let's do 25% at 180, and then we go down to the 7th, we'll do 10% at 90, and just create a random waveform here. What I can then do is hit this display waveform button. What that'll do, it'll show me the harmonic content that I've just created and say, all right, based on what you've typed in here, this is what the RW or Bantam Plus is going to generate. So you can create your own custom waveforms. And then, once you've created it, you might have also noticed that when I typed in the 100, 25, 50, it pre-sorted it out to 74, 18, and 7 because if I wanted the 150, total that up and then average it out among 100%, this is the magnitude that it gives each harmonic order. Once I like the waveform I've created, I can then go ahead and save this waveform as whatever I want. In this case, for example, I'm going to name it test waveform and save that off. And now we've created in my WECO apps folder on the RW or Bantam this test waveform COE file. So with this, I can create as many waveforms as I want and then have the RW generate. One of the things you might be asking is, all right, I've now created a waveform. How do I get that onto a device under test? So I've got this test waveform, and now I want to generate with it. So after I leave the sine wave editor and exit back out to the main menu, what I can then do is go into meter testing, as if I wanted to test a meter under phantom load conditions. Bring up my default test sequence, and let's say I was testing a form 9S today. What I can do is in meter testing, there's this options button at the top right. When you hit options, there's a sine waves button over here at the right. When you hit the sine waves button, it brings up a sine wave table. I'm going to make this a little smaller so you guys can see it a little bit. Kind of like what you would see in the RW and the Bantam. Brings up a sine wave window. These are the waveforms that I've got already loaded. I'm going to go ahead and bring it back to the default. This is 99% of the time what you would see. These are the default sine wave tables. So right now, with this setup, ABC voltage, ABC current, all are default pure sine waves. But if I wanted to change on a given phase of voltage or current, what that is generating, all I have to do is tap or click on which one I want to change, find the waveform I've created, in this case test waveform, hit open, and now when I generate on a phase voltage, it will generate my test waveform, or that custom harmonic content that I created a couple minutes ago. And then I can continue to do that across voltage and current. I can have them do separate ones. I can make A and B and C, all test waveforms. I can mix and match however I want and customize what the DUT or device under test is going to be saying. Set all these to voltage. Once I hit OK, X out, it'll bring you back to this options menu. And then to make it a little smaller because my screen's a little too big, bring it down, hit OK there. It's telling you the control loop or setting because there's an AMR option not checked in here as well. And then now that I'm back in meter testing, with the voltage waveforms put inside of the sine waves category, voltage will now see my test waveform, but current would be a pure sine wave. So you can test meters with any given sequence that you've got set up inside of your RW Bantam Plus using harmonic conditions. Now how this plays into ANSI C1220 and the waveforms I brought up earlier with 5561 through 66, you can then assign those waveforms to voltage and current values and perform ANSI specified testing using the RW and the Bantam Plus using those waveforms. So what I'm going to do is go back into options and go back under sine waves. And under this, you can either go into utilities and do it that way, or there's this edit sine wave button just like what we saw in utilities earlier as well. When you hit edit sine wave, we can go right back to here, just like we were going back into utilities, and either create or load waveforms to see what we're getting. So for example, if I wanted to bring up one of the ANSI waveforms that I've got saved, let's say I wanted to load up a 5563 test today, I can say, all right, here's my 5563 voltage waveform, preloaded here, based on ANSI standards here. What this should look like for voltage. If I display that waveform, this is what the RW or Bantam Plus would be generating for voltage when I assign that. And then if I load the 5563 current, This is what we're going to be generating for that specific test. So if I wanted to run this specific test on the RW or the Bantam Plus, what I could then do is I've got these loaded into my RW or Bantam, and I can then assign voltage and current at that specific point. Bring that up here real quick. Has become hidden in the back. Let me close out of one more bit and we'll bring that back up. Clicked on it a little fast, so let me go ahead and bring Winboard Embedded out of here and we'll launch that back up again. So now if I bring up the sine waves, as I was saying earlier, if I want to do the 55631 one, I can click on that, bring up my voltage ones, assign voltage for 5563 to each of my voltage tables. And then 5563 current as well for the current waveform. What this will do is when you go to generate current and voltage on the DUT, or device under test, it will apply the current and voltage waveforms that I was showing off a little bit ago to each phase of voltage and each phase of current. Hit OK on this. Bring this down smaller a little bit so you guys can see the buttons. Hit OK as well. Go back to the main meter testing window. Let's say I was testing my 9S. With default again. Now it would apply those current and voltage waveforms that I just assigned to this specific test sequence. So now, with all of that being said, the RW has the ability to do power quality and power quality testing as well. What that means is when you go out to a site or out to the field, you can read harmonic content using the RW. Let's say, for example, I go out to the site, I see harmonic content at the site that is very strange, meters acting erratic, or you have some questions on what might be going on, and you want to regenerate that content using your RW. You can capture that harmonic content in power quality and then regenerate that later on. How to do that is through saving the information to a site and then loading it right in the sine wave editor as I was doing earlier. First thing you would need to do that is go into site information and load a site that you've created. For this example, I've created a site previously, and I have a site in here from site name. If I search by site name, just my test site for sake of demonstration. So I'll load my test site with a main circuit I've created and a meter number 12345. So I'm going to load that into the system. You can tell that sites are loaded. At the top of your unit, you'll see site test up here under each window if you have a site loaded into the RW or Bantam. But in this case, I'm at the site right now and I want to check power quality. So I can open up my power quality screen here. Note, this is an emulated version of Winboard Embedded. This is not an RW or Bantam Plus right here in front of me. So if you were at the site, you would see vector diagrams here in this window. Under secondary and primary, there would be metrics. Under waveform here as well, there would be waveforms that we could see, but I don't have any voltage and current going into my computer. So while I'm not showing that off, this concept is still valid. So with this, we have the harmonic content over here at the far right side of power quality. this will display what the RW is reading for harmonic content all the way down to the 60th order. Just like the sine wave editor that we were showing off earlier. So with this, if I see this harmonic content as a waveform here and the harmonic graphs here, what I can then do is go to save up here at the top, and I want to save this content that we are seeing for regeneration. What I want to save is this waveform image here. If this waveform image is not checked, it will not export out your sine waves that you're looking for. So with all of this checked here, harmonic waveform data in its entirety and waveform image, I want to export out this data. What that's going to do is export the harmonic content to a COE file, the same files that the sine wave editor creates, and then allow you to then take those files and put them into voltage and current inside of meter testing as I was doing earlier. So when I hit export here, it's going to export out everything that was checked, whether you might want it or not. In this case, we're looking at primary and secondary data. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel down here at the bottom. You might not be able to see it, but there's cancel down here. I don't want the primary and I don't want the secondary for this round. The harmonic content, it's going to ask you, do you want to export or import into Winboard 3 or WattNet Basic? In this case, no. We're just looking for the COE files, so I'm going to hit no. As the CSV is harmonics. And then the next one is the important one. So let me make this just a little smaller and make this run. Now you'll see we've got my test site at 3/27/2020 today, at today's time, sine table as a COE file. I want to save the harmonic content that I'm looking at in power quality, and this allows me to do that. I can name it whatever I want, but by default, it names it this test sine table COE file, and that's fine for what I want to do. I want to hit save. And the wiring data is saved, but it can't export, even though I hit save here. So we've exported out that file, and what I can now do is bring my RW back to the shop, hook it up, and I want to run a phantom load meter test. The same thing as last time. If I go back into options, under sine waves, remove my NCC12 ones here. If at any time as well you have custom harmonic content that you've put in and you want to go back to pure sine wave generation, this defaults button will bring up the default sine table COE file and allow you to generate pure sine wave content again with the press of a button. But in this case, I want to generate what I saw. So I have my COE file. We have this sine table for VA COE file. If this was an RW out in the field, real unit, there would be 6 sine tables created. One for each phase of voltage and one for each phase of current. So you have 6 in total that you can then recreate on the RW. In this case, because this is an emulated version, it creates the 1, but you will be seeing, or should be seeing, 6 COE files created when saving or exporting out data from power quality. So in this case, I've got my VA sine table. I wanted to load that in. I can click that one for VA, hit open, and now this is assigned to VA. If this was a true RW out in the field, we would have one to say VB, VC, IA, IB, IC as well, and we can click all of those and assign those as needed throughout ABC voltage, ABC current. Make this a little smaller so you guys see the buttons again. And I can hit OK on that. And then same thing with all of that selected, I can then choose what test sequence I want to run, and then with that generate the same harmonic content that I just saw at the site several minutes ago. Overall, this is how to generate ANSI waveforms, harmonic content, whether custom or seen in the field with an RW, and how to apply those to meter tests in the RW and Bantam Plus. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to open up the chat at the bottom of WebEx as well. You can either use the chat down in the bottom of WebEx, or if you have any specific questions or anything that I can answer while I'm here, Please feel free to ask any questions and see what I can do to answer those for you. So I have a question from Chris in chat saying, will the file from the RW create the 6 COE files that can be imported into the 4000 series? The answer right now is unfortunately not. It will not create the COE files for Generation 4 4000 series test board. In that case, what I would recommend is looking at the file that it creates itself and then duplicating that over in Winboard 3 or WattNet Basic inside of its own harmonic order, magnitude, and phase angle table. One way you could do it, now think about it, Marcus brings up a good point, is if you have the site saved, so for example, you saw when I did the test site, you can actually import the site to WattNet Basic and then have those voltage and current waveforms brought over as well. So if you are assigning something to a site, you can import from the unit and then bring in those voltage and current waveforms for generation on a test board. So that is a possibility. So with the sites themselves, if you're saving harmonic content that way, you can have the file imported in and then regenerate that site's harmonic content on your test board. That is a possibility. Is there a PDF doc on your website that shows how to use power quality? Not currently. If you have any specific questions on power quality, we'd be happy to get you the information that you need. Please email us if you have any questions on that power quality aspect, and we can get you what you need. Is there any information that states what the ANSI standard files represent or where the harmonic content is replicated from? All of the ANSI waveforms that I was using and have saved are defined in the ANSI C1220 2015 specification under test 5561 through 5566. They're just pure copies from that ANSI C1220 documentation. Can you apply the waveforms to only one test inside the sequence to have a comparison with default? What I recommend for that would be run one test with the default sine waves and then run another test using non-default sinusoidal waveforms or any kind of harmonic content, and then use that as a comparison with one another. Unfortunately, you can't put, on the RW and Bantam, you can't put harmonic content and default sine wave content under the same test, unfortunately. So you will need to run two separate tests on the RW or Bantam when generating harmonic content versus just generating a default sine wave for comparison purposes. Is the training captured in video and we'll send out to participants? Absolutely. Where this is being recorded right now, so all the questions as well will be in there. And you will have a digital copy of this once the recording has been processed. Can you create a test sequence with harmonics in it? The way to do it would be to put the sine waves in the sine wave editor and then assign it to voltage and current. You can't just put, unfortunately, like for the full load, light load, power factor test, you can't assign full load, light load, and power factor the harmonic content as you would in WattNet Basic. So this is a little different. If you're used to test boards and going to the field equipment, there is a separate question there. In WinBoard 3, WattNet Basic, WattNet Express, all of that, you can assign full load, light load, power factor, harmonic content. In the Bantam and RW, it's widespread. So whatever you put inside for voltage and current will be generated under whatever test sequence you put into. So you can't assign full load, light load, power factor, a specific harmonic in this case, and only generate what you tell it to generate, and then you tell it what sequence you want to run separately. Is a COE file custom format, or does it conform to MATLAB? That one I'm not sure about, to be honest with you, and I'd have to get back with you on that one. I would need to see how the COE file gets generated and if that is compatible. Will this work with the W20 and W30? The W20 and W30 does have the ability to generate this harmonic content. So you can use the W for this purpose. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any more questions. So I want to thank everybody for coming here today and listening to our webinar on ANSI waveforms and non-sinusoidal waveform generation on the RW and Bantam Plus. If you have any follow-up questions or think of something later that you'd like to ask, please feel free to email technical support at radianresearch.com, and we should be able to answer any questions you have on the RW or Bantam Plus, whether it be for harmonic generation, use of the equipment, or anything else that comes up. One last question I saw is, do you have examples of real capture waveforms that were bad enough to cause a meter to be grossly inaccurate? I do, but it's on a separate database, not on the one that I have currently loaded on my system. If you want to see a waveform that I saw prior, I could get that to you. Send me an email if you want to see that, and I can get that to you. But once again, thanks everybody for coming out to our Radian webinar. Like I said, if you had any questions or anything follow up, please email technical support at radianresearch.com. We'll be happy to answer any questions or concerns that you may have, RW, Bantam, or otherwise. We do appreciate you all coming out for this event, and we will definitely be having more content to come.